His wife said, "Every day with him was nothing but regret. I wish I could end this nightmare." And he helped her to end it in a shocking way. Why does everyone think my marriage is heaven on earth? Honestly, Mum, every day with him is nothing but regret. I wish I could end this nightmare. Those were the venomous words Jessica Lawson said in front of her family and friends, humiliating her husband the way someone throws out yesterday's garbage. She had no idea the man sitting quietly across the table had already decided to give her exactly what she asked for, in a way she would never forget. What happened next will make you question everything you believe about love, pride, and emotional revenge. Viewers, what would you do if your wife called you a regret and a nightmare? How would you handle it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The living room of the Hendersons glowed with the soft golden light of celebration. Crystal glasses clinked, laughter echoed, and the air was filled with the scent of roasted lamb and jasmine candles. It was a night that marked 40 years of love, Jessica's parents, Harold and Evelyn, renewing their vows surrounded by family. And at the far end of the table sat Drake Lawson, Jessica's husband of 3 years, the man who looked like he belonged nowhere else but by her side. He had arrived early as always, carrying a bouquet of lilies for her mother and a bottle of Merlot her father loved. His shirt was crisp, his hair combed neatly, his face calm, so perfectly put together it almost felt rehearsed. Jessica, on the other hand, was restless, her smile a mask that cracked every few seconds, the kind of restlessness that only grows when the person sitting next to you has become a mirror of everything you want to escape. Dinner flowed easily at first. Her father spoke about the secret of a long marriage, patience and respect. Her brother joked about inheriting neither. Laughter rolled across the table. Then Evelyn turned to Jessica, eyes glowing with maternal pride. "I must say, darling," she said, resting her fork on the china plate, "marriage suits you beautifully. You're glowing. Drake must be taking good care of you." Drake smiled softly, lowering his gaze. Jessica froze for half a second before forcing a laugh. The sound cracked midway. Her mother went on, "It shows in your skin, in your eyes, you look happy." And that was the moment, the spark that lit the fuse. Jessica dropped her fork. It clattered against the porcelain, the sound slicing through the laughter. "Why does everyone think my marriage is heaven on earth?" she said suddenly, her tone sharp, trembling, almost brittle. The table fell silent. Across from her, Drake blinked. He pressed recording on his phone. Her father frowned. "What do you mean by that?" Jessica stared at her plate. "I mean..." She took a breath, the kind people take when they're about to ruin something they can't fix. Every day with him was nothing but regrets. I wish I could end this nightmare. A stunned silence spread like wildfire. Her mother's face drained of color. "Jessica, what are you saying?" Her mother reached for her hand. "My poor child," she whispered. "You've been suffering, haven't you? Tell me, has he hurt you? Has he been abusive?" Jessica's lips parted, but no words came. Evelyn's voice softened even more. "You don't have to endure it, my dear. You can stay with us as long as you want, until you're emotionally stable." The air thickened. Drake finally looked up. His eyes weren't angry. They were empty, the kind of emptiness that comes when love finally gives up fighting. He stood up slowly, took his car keys from the table and said quietly, "Don't bother coming back. I'll have your things delivered tomorrow. As far as I'm concerned, I'm ending your nightmare so you won't live in regret anymore." The chairs creaked as he walked away. Jessica's mother gasped. Her father called his name, but Drake didn't turn back. For a long while, no one spoke. Only the ticking of the grandfather clock filled the silence. Then her sister, Natalie, leaned forward. "Jess, what on earth was that? What's going on between you two? Did he cheat? Hit you?" Jessica exhaled, her voice laced with bitterness. "No, he's just boring. Too predictable. I'm still young. Am I supposed to spend the rest of my life with a 2-minute man?" Her words dropped like stones into still water. She continues, "That's why I'm back together with Roland." Her father slammed his fist on the table. "Enough. You cheat on your husband with your ex and stand there bragging about it? You should be ashamed." Jessica's mother covered her mouth, tears filling her eyes. "Jessica, please tell me you're not serious." Jessica shrugged, defiant but trembling. "At least my ex knows how to make me feel alive." Her brother, seated beside her, snapped, "Do you even realize what you've done? That man pays my tuition. He supports this family. You're destroying the only person who's ever helped us." Jessica looked around the table, every face filled with disbelief, shame, anger. For the first time that evening, the wine turned sour in her mouth. Her father rose, voice trembling with fury. "First thing tomorrow morning, you go back and apologize. No marriage is perfect. Look at your mother and me. 40 years of arguments and forgiveness. Go fix what you've broken." Her mother shook her head weakly. "No. Let her stay here tonight. When Drake calms down, we'll talk to him." But deep down, everyone in that room knew Drake Lawson wasn't coming back. Something in his silence had said it all. Outside, the night stretched long and quiet, the sound of Drake's car fading into the distance, leaving only one truth behind. Jessica's words had just turned a loyal husband into a stranger. The drive home was long and quiet, the kind of silence that doesn't comfort, it suffocates. The road shimmered under the amber streetlights as Drake Lawson's car rolled through the Houston suburbs. He didn't turn on the radio, didn't blink much either, just drove, hands steady on the wheel, his eyes hollow yet focused. The words kept echoing in his head like a haunting melody he couldn't turn off. "Every day with him is a regret. I wish I could end this nightmare." He had heard a lot of cruel things in life. Clients rejecting his proposals, investors mocking his conservative designs, but nothing had ever cut as deeply as the woman he loved calling him a nightmare. When he finally parked in the driveway, the night seemed too still. The porch light flickered as if it couldn't decide whether to stay alive or burn out completely. Drake stepped out, walked into the house he built with his own hands, a place once filled with laughter, warmth, and the scent of her vanilla lotion, and stood there for a moment, staring at the framed photo on the wall. Their wedding day. Jessica's smile in that picture had always been his anchor. But tonight, even that looked like a lie. He placed his car keys on the counter and poured himself a glass of water. His reflection in the kitchen window looked older than it did that morning. Tired, betrayed, almost foreign. He took a slow sip, his throat burning as if the water were acid. Then, as if his body moved on its own, he sat down on the couch and closed his eyes. The memories came rushing in uninvited, raw, painful, unrelenting. He remembered how he covered her father's medical bills when her family couldn't afford them. How he once drove 4 hours through a storm just to surprise her with flowers because she had said she felt unseen. And in every memory she was smiling. Until she wasn't. He remembered the first time she called him boring. It was supposed to be a joke. They had been watching a romantic movie, and she laughed, saying, "You could never pull off something that passionate. You're too boring." He had laughed with her, but something small inside him cracked. Then came the subtle humiliations, the sighs when he kissed her, the way she turned her face when he held her, the nights she claimed she was tired, yet smiled secretly at her phone under the sheets. He never asked questions. He loved her too much to suspect her of anything worse than boredom. But tonight she had stripped away the last illusion. Drake took out his phone and replayed the audio. Her voice came through crisp and clear. "Every day with him is a regret. I wish I could end this nightmare." He paused it halfway. The irony wasn't lost on him. She wanted to end the nightmare. He would give her that. He leaned back, staring at the ceiling fan spinning lazily. For the first time, he felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just emptiness. The kind of numbness that comes when you finally accept the truth. Love cannot save someone who doesn't want to be saved. When the clock hit 2 a.m., he stood up, his movements deliberate. He walked into the bedroom, the same one where Jessica once whispered forever, and opened the closet. One by one, he began to fold her clothes neatly into boxes. Her dresses, her heels, her favorite lavender perfume, all packed with quiet precision. He paused when he reached her wedding dress hanging in a garment bag. His hand brushed over the fabric. A small smile tugged at his lips, sad and almost ironic. "You called me your nightmare," he whispered. "But I think I'm the one who's finally waking up." He zipped the bag shut and placed it beside the boxes. Outside, the rain started, a slow drizzle tapping against the windows. It felt like the house was weeping for them both. Morning crept into Houston with a gray quietness that matched the Lawson house perfectly. The clock on the wall read 7:20 a.m. when Drake opened his eyes, but he had barely slept. Not because of pain, because of decision. His mind had already accepted what his heart was still catching up to. It was over. He walked to the kitchen, made black coffee, and leaned against the counter as sunlight fought through the blinds. The house felt larger than ever, echoing with the kind of stillness that used to feel peaceful but now felt hollow. There was no sound of Jessica's humming from the bathroom, no scent of her perfume in the air. The absence was louder than any argument. He picked his phone and called his lawyer to meet in his office by 10 a.m. At her parents' house across town, Jessica was in her old room, still in her pajamas, scrolling through her phone. Her eyes flickered to Drake's chat window again and again, waiting for that apology text she was sure would come. "He'll come around," she kept telling herself. "He always does." Her mother knocked softly before entering. Evelyn sat at the edge of the bed, her voice gentle but firm. "Jessica, I couldn't sleep. What you said last night." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "You broke that man in front of everyone." Jessica frowned. "Mom, you don't understand. Drake doesn't make me feel like a woman anymore. I can't spend the rest of my life pretending." Evelyn shook her head. "Your father stayed up half the night pacing. He said you'll ruin yourself if you don't fix this." "Fix what?" Jessica snapped. "I'm not the one who made me feel dead inside. I tried, Mom. But you don't know what it's like living with someone who can't even satisfy you." Evelyn flinched. "Jessica." "I'm serious," Jessica said, her voice rising. "I'm 32. Am I supposed to grow old next to a man who finishes before I even start to feel anything?" Her mother's eyes watered with shame and disbelief. Before she could answer, Harold's voice came from the doorway, cold and heavy. "Enough." He stepped in, his face pale with disappointment. "You cheat on your husband, humiliate him, and now you mock him in front of your mother? You should be thanking God that man hasn't thrown you out on the street." Jessica's anger faltered for a second. "Dad, you don't understand." "No, you don't understand," he thundered. "Your husband carried this family for 3 years, paid your brother's tuition, helped with my hospital bills. He gave you everything, and you stood there and spat on him like he's nothing." Tears welled in Jessica's eyes, but pride wouldn't let them fall. "Maybe I just wanted more than comfort and kindness," she muttered. Her father's voice softened, breaking slightly. "And maybe you don't deserve even that." The words hit her harder than she expected. She turned her face away, biting her lip. Back at the city's financial district, Drake sat in his lawyer's glass-walled office. His demeanor was calm, collected, surgical. Paul, his attorney, adjusted his glasses as he scanned the recording. "She said this in front of her entire family?" Drake nodded. "And I want this process clean, no drama, no reconciliation attempts." Paul smirked faintly. "That's the voice of a man who's done being the nice guy." Drake said nothing, only leaned back. "I'm done being the fool." Paul tapped on his tablet. "All right. Given your trust structure, she can't touch your company or assets. Consider it done." When Drake left the office, there was no satisfaction in his face. No smirk. just quiet resolve. Revenge wasn't something he sought. It was something that had arrived naturally, like gravity. He spent the afternoon at work, focused, robotic. Employees greeted him. He nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. That evening, he packed the rest of Jessica's belongings, every necklace, every photograph, every little item she'd ever left scattered around the house. By nightfall, the boxes lined the foyer like silent witnesses. At her parents' home, Jessica's pride was finally starting to crumble. Every hour without a text made her chest tighten. She replayed their last fight in her head, wishing she could undo it, wishing she hadn't been so cruel. Her phone buzzed. Heart racing, she snatched it up, only to see a message from her ex, Adrian. "Missing you badly. Can't wait to see you again." She stared at the screen, suddenly feeling disgusted. What was she even doing? Adrian wasn't love. He was escape. But Drake had been her home. That night, she didn't sleep. She kept checking her phone, waiting for forgiveness that never came. And across the city, Drake slept soundly for the first time in years, the faint sound of rain tapping against the window like closure. The third morning after the dinner, humiliation broke with an eerie calm. Drake Lawson woke before dawn, shaved, and dressed with the precision of a man heading to war but without the noise. His lawyer had called him that the papers are ready. At exactly 1 p.m., the divorce packet sat sealed in a thick manila envelope on his kitchen counter, the ink still drying beside his signature. Drake stood in the living room, surrounded by 5 neatly packed suitcases and 3 taped boxes. Jessica's life, reduced to labeled compartments. Her perfume bottles wrapped in tissue, her designer heels cushioned with newspaper, her wedding dress folded carefully at the bottom of one box. There was no anger in the way he packed, just precision. Every fold, every zip, was a quiet goodbye. When the Uber driver arrived, a gray Toyota pulled smoothly into the driveway. The young man stepped out, cap tilted, looking uncertain when he saw the pile. "Afternoon, sir," the driver said. "You need help with the luggage?" "Yes," Drake replied calmly. "These go to this address." He handed him a slip of paper with Jessica's parents' home address written in firm black ink. Then he picked up one suitcase himself. Together they loaded the trunk, the air heavy with the soft thuds of closing car doors. Before the driver climbed in, Drake handed him the manila envelope. "Deliver this with the luggage," he said. "Directly to the recipient, Jessica Henderson Lawson. Handle it carefully, and here," he slid a $100 bill into the man's hand. "For the inconvenience." The driver nodded, slightly stunned by the extra pay. "I'll make sure it gets there safe, sir." "Thank you," Drake said quietly. As the Uber rolled away, Drake stood on the driveway watching it disappear down the street. No expression, no tears. Only the wind stirred his shirt. Then he turned, locked the door, and drove off in the opposite direction. At the downtown branch of Southern Fidelity Bank, the marble floors gleamed under the fluorescent lights. Drake met with Mr. Keller, his account manager, a stout man with silver hair who had managed the Lawsons' accounts since their wedding. "Good to see you again, Mr. Lawson," Keller said as he gestured for Drake to sit. "You mentioned on the phone, urgent access changes?" Drake nodded, sliding a folder across the table. "Effective immediately. Revoke every supplementary card tied to my primary accounts, Jessica Lawson, Evelyn and Harold Henderson, and Aaron Henderson. Block their usage and disable online access. I'll handle any fallout." Keller hesitated. "Sir, Mrs. Lawson is listed as an emergency contact." "She's no longer my wife," Drake said, his voice even, almost kind. Keller blinked, then nodded. "Understood." While Keller typed, Drake leaned back in the chair, hands folded. He wasn't vindictive, he was precise. Every keystroke sounded like closure. When Keller finally looked up, the last trace of Jessica's financial reach had vanished. "All done," the banker said softly. "You'll receive the confirmation by email." Drake stood. "Thank you." As he walked out, sunlight flooded the lobby windows. For the first time in 3 years, it didn't feel harsh. It felt like freedom. Across town at the Henderson residence, panic was setting in. Aaron, Jessica's younger brother, sat at the dining table with his laptop open and a cup of coffee untouched beside him. "That's weird," he muttered, refreshing his screen. He clicked Submit Payment again. Another red warning flashed. Transaction declined. "Mom," he called. "Something's wrong with Drake's card." Evelyn frowned. "Maybe it's the network." Aaron tried again. Same result. "No, it says payment method removed by account holder." The room went still. Harold looked up from the newspaper, his eyes narrowing. "Removed? You mean Drake cut the account?" Before Aaron could answer, the low hum of an approaching car broke the silence. Tires crunched on the gravel driveway. They looked out the window. An Uber pulled in. The driver stepped out, opened the trunk, and began unloading suitcases. Evelyn's breath caught. "Oh, God." Jessica came running down the stairs, barefoot, hair messy, heart racing. "That's him! It must be him!" she cried, rushing toward the door. But when she flung it open, her smile died instantly. The driver stood there holding a clipboard and the manila envelope. "Delivery for Mrs. Lawson," he said politely. "From Mr. Lawson. He said to give this to you personally." Jessica's hand shook as she took it. Behind her, Harold and Evelyn watched wordlessly while Aaron helped carry in the luggage. The driver nodded, climbed back into the car, and left. The front door closed. Jessica tore the envelope open, her eyes scanning the bold black letters. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Her breath hitched. The pages fluttered as she read line after line, Drake's clean signature at the bottom, the company seal, the stamped date. Today. Her knees buckled. "No," she whispered. "He can't do this. He can't." Her father took the document from her trembling hands, scanning it silently. When he finished, he exhaled slowly, voice grave. "It's legal, Jessica. Final. He's already filed." Her brother's voice cut through the silence. "He blocked everything. I can't even pay for school anymore." Jessica's world spun. She sank onto the couch, eyes wide and empty. He actually did it," she said, more to herself than anyone. "He really ended it." Her mother touched her shoulder gently, whispering, "You asked for an end, my child. He only gave you what you said you wanted." Outside, the Uber drove off, leaving behind the quiet hum of an engine fading into the distance. Inside, Jessica sat frozen among her boxes and memories, the house that once felt safe now echoing with her own words. "Every day with him is a regret. I wish I could end this nightmare." Only now she realized Drake had helped her end it. Completely. For 3 long seconds, she couldn't move. Then something snapped. She grabbed her handbag and rushed out the door, ignoring her mother calling after her. Her heels clicked against the driveway as she jumped into her car. Tears blurred her vision, but she drove anyway, through red lights, through traffic, through shame. Every breath she took came out as a sob. Her mind screamed one thing over and over. He can't mean it. Drake can't mean it. He always forgives. She pulled into their street just as dusk was settling, the sun bleeding orange across the horizon. His black sedan was parked neatly in the driveway as usual. Her heart leapt. "He's home," she whispered to herself, wiping her tears with trembling fingers. "Thank God he's home." Jessica hurried up the path, her pulse hammering in her ears. The porch light flicked on automatically, washing her face in warm gold. She pressed the bell, waited, then knocked. Harder, louder. "Drake!" she cried, voice breaking. "Drake, please open up! It's me!" Inside, she heard the faint sound of footsteps. The door opened halfway. Drake stood there, casual in a gray t-shirt and jeans, his expression calm but unreadable. His eyes met hers, and for a brief moment she saw the man who used to make her feel safe. Her breath hitched. "Drake?" she began softly. "Please don't do this." I didn't mean what I said that night. You know me. I talk too much when I'm angry. Please, just let me explain." He didn't answer. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, listening. "I was stupid," she went on, her words tumbling over each other. "I was embarrassed, okay? I just wanted to sound strong in front of my family. I didn't mean any of it." His gaze didn't waver. "You didn't mean it," he repeated quietly. "But you said it. Every word." Jessica shook her head violently. "I was drunk. I was emotional. You were honest," he interrupted. His voice was calm, but his eyes were tired, hollow. "You said every day with me was a regret. You said you wished you could end the nightmare. So I did what you wanted, Jess. I ended it." Her throat tightened. "No," she whispered. "No, please, Drake, don't say that. Don't talk like it's over." She stepped closer, her hand reaching for his. "You're the best thing that ever happened to me. I swear I'll change. I'll fix everything. I'll never disrespect you again. Just give me one more chance." He looked down at her hand on his, then slowly pulled away. "Do you remember that night, Jess?" he said softly. "When you laughed at me for bringing you roses after your bad day at work? You said you didn't need flowers. You needed fire. You made me feel small for loving you quietly." Her tears spilled freely now. "I didn't mean it," she sobbed. "I was wrong. You were perfect, Drake. I was just too blind to see it." He smiled faintly, sadly. "You were right about one thing, though. I am boring. Boring enough to forgive everything you did, but not foolish enough to forget what you said." Jessica dropped to her knees on the porch, clutching his leg, her voice breaking. "Please, Drake, don't throw us away. I'll go to counseling. I'll do anything. Please don't shut the door on me." He looked down at her, his face a picture of quiet sorrow. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he knelt slightly so they were eye level. His voice was almost a whisper when he spoke. "You called me your nightmare in front of your parents, Jess. You made me look into the eyes of the woman I love and hear her say she regrets me. That kind of wound doesn't heal. It just stops bleeding." Her sobs grew louder, desperate. "Drake, please." He reached out, gently brushed a tear from her cheek and said, "You ended us that night, not me." Then slowly he stood and stepped back inside. "Goodbye, Jessica." The door closed with a soft click that sounded louder than any scream. Jessica stayed there on her knees, pounding her fists against the door, crying his name. "Drake, please, I'm sorry, I'll change. Please, open the door." But there was no answer. Behind the door, Drake leaned against the wall, eyes shut, tears finally escaping. But he didn't open it. Not this time. Outside, Jessica kept crying until her voice cracked, until the porch light flickered off and the night swallowed her whole. The same night she once called a nightmare now wrapped her in the silence she had created. And as she lay there on the cold steps, one truth echoed through her chest. Drake hadn't ended her nightmare. He had simply stepped out of it, leaving her to live inside it alone. Viewers, do you think Jessica deserves a second chance with Drake? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe for more interesting and true-to-life stories.